All right, guys, welcome back to the Green Zone. This is episode 19 of our illustrious podcast here. And about the 5th or 6th episode on YouTube for you guys that are watching me. And for those listening, all you have to do is go to the Podbean free podcast app, search The Green Zone, all one word. And for those of you on the podcast, all you have to do to find my channel is search Jimmy Havener, as I am, as always, your host. So, let's get this going, guys. This is going to be a quick one. We only have 4 games to go over. This is championship week coming up. You guys that have been following me since week 1 know that I've made a prediction that the Pats and Saints will be playing in the Super Bowl since week 1, episode 1. Check it out if you don't believe me. So, not much to predict here, guys, but I will go through the betting segment and everything else as always. So, let's kick it off. Okay, guys, first up, we got the pick'ems. Now, obviously, I haven't come this far to give up on the teams that I picked since week 1, and that is to say, I think that it'll be Pats, Saints. However, guys, if you're not locking me into what I said that it would happen since week 1 of the NFL, and you ask me, Jimmy, what do you think's going to happen just based off of what you've seen recently? I'd have to change something just slightly, guys. We're not going to change too much, but just a little bit here. And what I'm going to tell you is my head and my eyes and everything I've seen lately are telling me that it's going to be a Chiefs-Saints Super Bowl. Yes, that's right. I'm knocking the Pats out of the equation, and the only reason is not because the Pats are playing bad. I think they're playing great. I think they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. I think they play even better as the underdogs. Somehow they managed to come into the playoffs being overlooked. Once again, we're never talking about the Pats because we're bored of them. But like I say, guys, 2 words define the Pats. Sustain greatness. Once again, they are probably going to be in the Super Bowl, but I just don't see anybody stopping the Chiefs right now. They're an unstoppable force. Maybe they run into an immovable object in the Pats, but I just don't buy it, guys. I think the Chiefs keep rolling on. I don't think it's the home field advantage that really gives them the edge like everybody's saying. I do think this is a close game. I do think this is a shootout, despite it being the coldest game to ever be played at Kansas City. I don't even think that Mother Nature can stop the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes, or the Pats in that offense. I think it comes down to which defense can make plays. And what I mean by that is which defense can get a couple turnovers. 1 would be good, 2 would be great, just to give your offense one more chance at putting points on the board. The NFL, like I've been saying for, the 15th time now, you're going to hear me say it here on the podcast, is a passing league. It's an offensive league, guys. It no longer does the mantra, defense win championships, work. That's not how it works. Offense wins championships. You have to outscore your opponent. For defense, you need a team that can make plays, playmakers, guys that are turnovers waiting to happen, guys that can get a strip while they're going for a sack, guys that can get an interception instead of a tip ball, just to give your offense one more chance at scoring another touchdown or another field goal to put you on top of your opponent. For those of you who have played Madden NFL or a video game and you've played against your buddy that's almost equally as good as you, you know that it's about whoever has the ball last to score last wins the game. Well, it's kind of how the NFL works now. If you do not understand, I will break it down once again for you. You are no longer allowed to hit the quarterback. If you hit the quarterback too low, it's a penalty. If you hit the quarterback too high, it's a penalty. If you hit the quarterback mid-range, but you let your momentum carry over and you land on the quarterback, that's a penalty. On top of that, that's a 15-yard penalty. That's a huge deal in a playoff matchup. So, what that means is that the players on the defensive side have become more cautious. They are no longer going to lay the quarterback out. What that in turn means is that the quarterback can now sit back in the pocket, look around, have a cup of tea, and find who he wants to have, go 40 yards over the middle for a touchdown. It didn't used to be like that. It is now. Get used to it. I'm getting used to it. It's fine. Sometimes the referees allow them to hit, but the bottom line is the defensive guys have now been programmed to not allow themselves to do that just in case the penalty is called, because you cannot afford a 15-yarder. So it makes a difference even if they are no longer calling it as strict as they were at the beginning of the season, guys. So don't give me that, well, they don't call it anymore, so how's it making a difference? It makes a difference in the mental mindset of which that defense comes into the game. Next, you've got the receivers going over the middle. In the past, a guy like Tyreek Hill maybe would have lasted for about a quarter before he got blown up by Steven Atwater, Ronnie Lott, or John Lynch, for goodness sakes. Somebody would take his head off and make a statement to him that that's not going to happen. You no longer have to fear that. So if you have speed, the quarterback sits back there in the pocket comfortably, knowing he can't get hit too hard, waits for his receiver to cross on a crossing route or a slant that needs time to develop, but now the quarterback has that time, and the receiver doesn't have to fear getting his head torn off. He can go over the middle like a little guy like Tyreek Hill, take that pass, and continue up the field for 40 to 50 yards. Because the Chiefs have that, because they have the most dynamic skill players in what is now an offensive league, and one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the NFL, I just don't see how you stop them. This league is tailor-made for a team like the Chiefs. Next team that it would be second best for would be the Pats, and it's the only reason why the Pats aren't the best team in this scenario is because the Chiefs just, they just have that a little bit more in that talent area. Tyreek Hill, better than Julian Edelman. Pat Mahomes, not better than the GOAT. No, I'm not saying that. But he is younger. He can make some flashy plays that, we've never seen before. So, all I'm saying, guys, I think in the end, the Chiefs are able to outscore the Pats. They have a little bit more talent than the Pats do. And on the defensive end, they have a couple of guys, D. Ford, a couple other defensive linemen. They led the league in sacks that can get back there and make some plays. I think that is the small little difference as the Chiefs out-edge the Pats at home in a cold-ass game, guys. That's going to be awesome to watch. I can't wait. By the way, I don't think that these games could have matched up better than they have. As a football fan, you got to be excited anytime you have a championship week of a number 1 versus a number 2 on one side and a number 1 versus a number 2 on the other. That's great. Can't wait. All right, guys, next we got the Rams at the Saints. I'm staying with the Saints in this one. I do not think that the Rams can go into New Orleans and beat the Saints. Now, I take that back. They can. I can totally foresee that happening. However, if you're asking me who I trust to outscore who in this situation, I trust Drew Brees over Jared Goff. Jared Goff has made vast improvements under the tutelage of McVay. It's been awesome to watch. It's been fantastic. However, he's still a young quarterback, guys. Now he's got to go into New Orleans, a place that I have heard described by Michael Irvin, one of the scariest places to play, one of the loudest and most intimidating stadiums to play in his young career. Now Goff's got to go in there, and he's got to do that. I just don't see that happening. I mean, if it does happen, it's because I think that the players on the defensive side for the Rams, Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald, give Brees a tough time, and they get a couple turnovers and give Goff a couple more chances. But I think the Saints are the more balanced team. I said it in Week 1, Episode 1 of the Green Zone. NFL is all about balance nowadays. Offense that can score, defense that can give you extra chances. That's what it's about. I think the Saints' defense is more tailor-made for that. And I just trust Brees more than I trust Goff. So, guys, that sets it up for a Saints-Chiefs Super Bowl. As you know, I just started this podcast, by saying Week 1, I predicted Saints-Pats. So, officially, I am going on record, standing next to my Week 1 predictions. Saints-Pats. I didn't come this far to give up on those teams now. Not one game away and switching it up. No way, no how. However, I will tell you, if you're thinking, Jim, I just want to know your damn opinion for these games. Then I tell you Saints-Chiefs. I know that's a little, flip-floppy, guys, but officially in my playoff bracket, where I am ranked 52nd in the country, yes, that is 52nd overall, as I scroll to look it up, on NFL.com, U.S. overall standings, I am 52nd at a 23,304. I've missed one game. I picked those damn Ravens to beat the Chargers. Damn it. Otherwise, I'd be perfect. That means there are 51 other people in the country that have a perfect bracket. Congrats to you guys. I'll be trying to post this on my podcast page later. But if you guys have listened to the podcast, you know that this is all documented and true. So it doesn't really matter. Bottom line is, guys, I am sticking with what I predicted. On my bracket, I have Saints-Pats in the Super Bowl and the Saints taking it all. That's where I'm going. I know where my bread is buttered. So that completes the playoff pick'ems. We got some different stuff coming up for you guys in the betting segment. Now we're going to head into the fantasy option, or the playoff challenge here. If you guys have been following along, it's pretty simple the way that this works. It sounds more confusing than it really is. You go to NFL.com, you play the playoff challenge. If you haven't enrolled by now, you're pretty much screwed. But what happens is, round 1 during the wild card, you are allowed to pick guys that are in the divisional matchups and the future matchups to come. They would just get you times 2 points. And if those teams then win, they get you times 3. I did a lot of picking teams and guys from the divisional rounds, so they got me double points. And since they won, as I predicted, I've now got a whole roster full of triple pointers going on here. So for me, I got at quarterback Mahomes going at triple points. I got Gurley and Kamara going at triple points. I got Tyreek Hill and Michael Thomas going at triple points. I got Travis Kelce going at solamente 1 point, no bonus going on there. And then Will Lutz, the kicker, for the Saints, going at triple points. And then Rams are my defense. I do believe they're the best playmaking defense available out there. Better than the Chiefs, better than the Saints. I just think fantasy-wise that the Rams will probably get the most points there. So not much to go over there, guys. If you've been listening along, then you have a roster similar to mine. If you trusted me, and if you did trust me, you're doing pretty damn good. I'm set up to have a fantastic weekend. I probably should have just gone with Kelce instead of Eric Ebron the entire time. Alrighty then. That moves us on to the betting segment, guys. As I flip through my cheat sheet, and then stay tuned. I want to go over some stories from last week's games. They were a doozy. They were freaking awesome. As you know, pick 'em. Well, actually, some of the games were boring and teams got blown out, but there's still a lot to talk about. More on how the NFL has transitioned into an offensive league and how those big defensive powerhouses last week, and everybody was saying, oh, defense and running still wins championships. No, not so much. No, sir. That is not the case. Get the hell out of here, Cowboys. Get the hell out of here, Chargers. You don't belong in this NFL anymore. Sorry, I'm going a little overboard. But, yeah, so we now moving on to the betting segment, guys. Last week, for the pick'ems, obviously we went 4-0. This week, and then last week in the betting segment, I believe I went 2-2. I don't know. We won the Pats game. We went the over. We went 2-1, 2, 3. Wow, we went 2-4. 2-4. Not that great, guys. So, that's okay. We're going to make up for it this week. All right, right off the rip, I got the Pats +3, guys. In both the spreads for both of these games are 3 points. That means that the NFL and Vegas expect these to be good, close games. Standard home field advantage is a 3-point spread. So that's what they've given both of the home teams. So if you're telling me I get the Pats +3 during playoff time, during December, if anybody could scheme up a defense to stop the Chiefs, it would be Belichick. He's a defensive genius. You're going to give me the GOAT +3 in the playoffs in an AFC Championship game where they've made 16 of the last 18 AFC Championship games. I'm going to take the Pats +3. All right? Hands down. Next, we got the Saints-Rams game, guys. And I know I picked the Saints, and I'm staying strong to that pick. I love Drew Brees, love the Saints, but I love the way the Saints are playing. Not a Saints fan, but this is a tough game. I could see this going either way. I'm going to stay strong. I'm going to take the Saints -3. I wouldn't jump on you for taking the Rams +3. I just think that, look, Drew Brees in that arena, Sean Payton in that arena. Did you hear how loud that place was last week, guys? Now imagine that times 10, even louder for the AFC Championship game. It's going to be hard. I hate to attribute like an entire game to the crowd and the difference that the crowd will make, but it really did make a difference against the defending former champions in the Philadelphia Eagles. You had delay of games, false starts, just really bothering that Eagle team. Now you've got a younger team that hasn't won a Super Bowl coming in there trying to do that. So I think the Saints realized last week that, hey, the game didn't start the way they wanted to. They weren't able to pass the way they wanted to right off the rip, and they did not panic. They did not go, let's drop Drew Brees back 40 times, 50 times, and just have him pass over and over. They established the running game. They kept it going. I didn't understand why they went so hard at trying to get Ted Ginn involved and utilizing Mark Ingram so much. I would have focused more on Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. Finally, when they made that transition, they pulled away and they won the game. I was shouting at my TV for an entire half about that. Get the ball to your playmakers. Stop trying to be too cute there, Peyton. But I think through that, Peyton learned, look, hey, I understand the defense may know that I'm going to Michael Thomas. They may know that Alvin Kamara is my better running back. Rather than getting cute and trying to throw in some guys that they don't expect to beat them, let's just play to my strengths here. And you saw they weren't able to stop. The Eagles weren't able to stop those two guys because they're insane. I've never seen better balance in a running back than Alvin Kamara, and I've never seen more strength and physicality in a natural strength too. He's not like some big lumbering wide receiver who doesn't have. He's got speed. And he has acceleration. He runs great routes, but he's just naturally strong. And I haven't seen that in a while in another receiver. So I got the Saints -3, Pats +3 get there, guys. You guys are going to see a live prediction on the over-unders here because I have forgotten to pick the over-unders. I just picked the games. So, and for the Super Bowl, I'll not only be picking the game, I'll be picking the over and the under, and then I'll also pick some side bets, some parlays or whatnot. Not parlays, whatever they're called. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like, how many receptions Edelman will have, stuff like that. We'll be picking those as well. So it's looking like the over in this game is 57 for the Rams-Saints and then 55.5 for the Chiefs-Pats. I am going to say go under on the Rams-Saints and go over on the Chiefs-Pats. Yes, I know how cold it's going to be there. Don't think it matters. I really don't. So, over. Write it down. Live. This is incredible that you guys are able to see this. The brain, the mechanism, the genius at work. Over in the Los Angeles Rams-Saints at 57. Under. Nope, I'm sorry. Under in that game. Wow. You guys, you get to see all this. It's so incredible. You're so lucky. Los Angeles Rams Saints at 57. And over in the Pats Chiefs at 55.5. Over. Pats. How do you guys spell Chiefs? At 55.5. Okay, guys, that does it for the betting segment. And last but not least, we are going to do the stories segment. These are things that happened last week that I saw. Just basically a review of the games that I found some fascinating things. I got a lot of stuff going on here, guys. First up, we had the Colts-Chiefs, and the Chiefs just they smashed on the Colts. The Colts looked overwhelmed. Luck didn't look himself. You heard it from a couple analysts on the program there that said he looked like he was aiming the ball instead of throwing the ball. That is true. He definitely did look like that. But first note here, I've got the Colts were just outmatched. Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey are awesome. Example, the Michael Irvin interview that I heard recently. And recently I was tuned in to a station where Michael Irvin was being interviewed, and he was asked, what his greatest year was with the Cowboys. And he had explained that his best year was when he had Jay Novacek in the tight end position, because then it developed a dual threat. There was the tight end threat and then the threat of him at wide receiver. It wasn't when he had another great wide receiver opposite of him. It was when he had a tight end and Jay Novacek, because what that does, guys, is that forces that linebacker to have to make a decision. Is he going to spy the running back or the quarterback in the backfield, or is he going to bracket coverage is the outside linebacker going to bracket coverage the tight end with the safety help over the top? If they bracket cover a guy like Travis Kelce, that means the safety's over the top, keeping an eye on Kelce, with the outside linebacker keeping an eye on him as well. One-on-one matchup on the outside. That gives Tyreek Hill one-on-one matchup on the outside. Now, if you take that safety and you lean him over and you say, no, okay, get over here then, and kind of bracket coverage Hill, because we don't want Hill to go deep and blow us up all game. Now you've got one-on-one matchup with Travis Kelce on an outside linebacker, no safety help over the top. Tell me how many linebackers in this league can cover Travis Kelce. Don't worry, I'll wait. Go ahead. Yeah, there's not many, guys. So it's an incredible, asset to have. They have so much speed there in Tyreek Hill. He is the fastest player in the NFL. It gives me a tingle of excitement just thinking about the options that the Niners can have with Kittle now emerging as he has. If the Niners go out and get Antonio Brown, now you've got the hardest combination to cover in San Francisco, and we'll really see what Jimmy G is made of. Now, I'm getting off subject here. I am a Niners fan. You guys know that. But, the Colts were outmatched. They didn't have the talent to keep up with the Chiefs. And that's what I see in the Pats too. I understand the Pats have Edelman and they have Gronk, the original version of this type of offense. The Chiefs have modeled their team after the Pats. Get a defense that can give your offense a tough time from the 10 to the 10, but really, lets you go from the 10 to the 10, no problem, but buckles down in the red zone area, makes it tough to score touchdowns, and then gets a turnover every now and again. That's all that matters on defense. Belichick has known that for years. Put the money on the offensive side of the ball. Make sure that you always have a legitimate tight end. He's always done that. Sometimes he has two. Well, keep the murderer guy out of it. But he's always had two legitimate tight end options. And then a great speedy wide receiver, Wes Welker, Edelman, those guys, maybe they're not top speed fast, but they are quick as hell, running those underneath, crossing routes, and then spreading it downfield with the Brandon Cooks, Randy Moss, somebody of that nature, Josh Gordon. Usually they have that type of guy that can open it up on the top after Edelman and Gronk have softened it up over the middle and on the shorter to intermediate routes. They don't really have that this year, but they'll find somebody. Sooner or later, there'll be some guy running downfield that you've never heard of that Tom Brady, it'll be Cordell Patterson or something like that. So, bottom line is, guys, I think that the Pats are the original version of this type of offense and this type of team. The Chiefs just have the new and upcoming version. I think I see a little changing of the guard here. I will say, though, guys, I do think it'd be awesome. I understand a lot of people are bored and tired of the Pats. I do think it'd be pretty awesome to see Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. But if you give me Drew Brees versus Pat Mahomes, that'd be pretty great too. And if it's Rams-Pats, hey, there's no that's going to be a great matchup too. So, getting back on subject here, there were 9 minutes left in the fourth. It was fourth down, 9 minutes left in the quarter. It was fourth down and 24. No, I'm sorry. 9 minutes left in the fourth. You're down 24-7, and Kenny Moore gets a sack for the Colts. Okay, guys? He then does an elaborate dance and celebration where a teammate comes over and does it with him. That is the type of thing that if I am a Colts fan, it just tears my heart out. It's so look at me and not team-oriented and really shouts like I don't really give a shit about what's going on in the game right now. I cannot stand that. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be excited on defense. Look, a sack, an interception, those types of things, the reason why the entire team runs down to the end zone and does a celebration is because that's almost equivalent to a touchdown. You 9 times out of 10 get points off of that because it's an offensive league, especially if you're on one of these 4 final teams in the NFL, top 4 offenses in the NFL. So, I get the elaborate celebrations in situations like that. However, you have to understand what's going on around you. And when you were down 24-7, at least pretend like you care. Just to make the fans feel better, just pretend like you care that you're losing. Come on. Then we got offsides penalties for the Colts. Painful to watch. Embarrassing. I mean, if you guys have ever played Pop Warner football, you know one of the first things you are taught is when you're on the defensive side of the ball, you watch the ball. You don't pay attention to the count. You don't pay attention to what the quarterback's shouting. You watch the ball. Because when the ball moves, that's when you can move. So, I mean, it was a little embarrassing there. I would have never guessed that it was going to be a Chiefs defense that won that game. Now, when I say that, it's a little tongue-in-cheek. They didn't win the game. The offense put up the points to win the game. But they completed plays. They did things. That Chiefs defense stepped up and did things that they haven't done all year. You guys know I've been blasting the Chiefs defense all year, saying it's embarrassing to watch them. They have the worst secondary in the world, most sacks out of any defense in the league. But if the offensive team has more than a second, then the Chiefs secondary is already getting burnt. Now, what the Chiefs did is they made an adjustment. They took out a couple veterans, they put in a couple of rookies, and it was a great call. That Chiefs secondary has improved immensely. They're still not the greatest team, still not the greatest defense, you know what I mean? But they're a lot better. And if you give Mahomes and that offense and Andy Reid even a scotch of a consistent and decent defense, they're unstoppable. So, great move on the Chiefs' end, benching the veterans and putting in the rookies. And they're soon to get back Eric Berry. So, that's kind of scary. Apologize for the rhyme, but it happens all the time. It's tough, guys. It's a tough sledding for the Pats. But if anybody could do it, sustained greatness, and the Pats can do it. The Chiefs had the skill players. The Colts did not. That's what it came down to. And all those drop balls hurt them big time. Stop trying to tell me defense and running is what wins in the playoffs. And all you need is and to focus on defense and pass rushers in the draft. Yeah, guys, all you hear out here in the Bay Area is that pass rushers, defense wins championships. The Niners need a pass rush. So it irks me personally to hear that over and over, and then I watch football, and I see that that's not the case. So I won't get on another tangent. The bottom line is exactly what I said. When it comes down to it, the Chiefs have better skill players than the Colts. That's it. They just do. And a young, budding Mahomes is better than an aiming, my arm maybe kind of hurts Andrew Luck. Bottom line. Who's got the better offensive-minded coach? Chiefs. So I really think it comes down to that. Like, who has the better coach? Who has the better quarterback? Who has the better skill players? That's who's going to win the game. So I don't want to give you guys my formula or my secret, but that's really what's going on here. Next, we got the Cowboys at the Rams. I love Troy and Joe. I really do. Troy Aikman, Joe Buck, two of my favorite broadcasters. I don't, prescribe to the belief that Joe Buck, hates my team. I think he points out, he's honest, and he points out, I do believe in baseball. He's a Cardinals fan. And, I hold a little bit against him when it comes to those Giants-Cardinals games. The Giants own the Cardinals in the playoffs. But not talking baseball, talking football here. I love him, but when Troy absolutely lost me when he said that Robert Woods may be the best wide receiver in all of football, just when you factor in everything, blocking, I don't know. Look, you totally lost me, Troy. I love you. Not a chance. There's a possibility that Robert Woods isn't even the best receiver on his team. Cooper Kupp is a better receiver. And I'm talking all around. I get it. Blocking, everything else that's involved for a receiver, route running, blah, 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 blah. Cooper Kupp is a better receiver. Brandon Cooks is a better receiver. So Robert Woods is a good receiver. He's definitely underrated. Best in the NFL, not a chance. Not a chance. So sorry, Troy. You lost me on that one. The pick Ebukam dropped. Yeah. Is exactly the type of play I counted on the Rams making. That was a pick six. So basically what I was saying last week, guys, is that I thought the Rams would win that game against the Cowboys because I felt like their defense would make more plays and give their offense more chances to score. That pick that Ebukam had in his hands and dropped, that's a pick six. And I write these notes live, so it's like that's the type of thing I was expecting them to make in order to win that game. Now, it turns out it didn't hurt them. They won the game anyways. We'll see if it's the same story against the Saints, though. Got to make those plays if the Rams expect to beat the Saints in the Superdome. The in the group call was a huge and bad call. The in the grasp call was a huge call, and it was a bad call. The in the grasp call that was called on Dak Prescott and the Cowboys when he was really in the grasp of his own offensive lineman, that was a huge call. And that really hurt the Cowboys, and that was BS. That was not in the grasp. He was held up. He was still scrambling. He still had opportunities. Cowboys would have still lost that game. They were vastly overmatched. But I know it came down to a 4th and 7 or whatever, 3rd and 7 or whatnot. But they were overmatched. The Rams were the better team. So I just thought that was a crappy call, and I wanted to point it out. The play before it of Dak missing a wide-open Cooper is exactly what I expected from Dak and why I felt they'd lose that game. So that note explains it all, guys. The reason I didn't pick the Cowboys and Dak is because of plays like that. Amari Cooper running wide open the play before that in the grasp call, which ended up hurting him big time, wide open, and Dak misses him. That's why when it comes down to it, you have to have a quarterback that can make those plays at the big moments. That's why I like the Saints over the Rams. Drew Brees is more likely to make those plays than Jared Goff. I like Goff, though. I really do. I like any quarterback coming out of Cal because they run a pro offense and they're not good at recruiting. So if you're making your skill receivers at Cal look good running a pro offense, you're probably a good quarterback prospect. And thank God Bruce Arians is a head coach and getting out of the booth because he is terrible. There is no way Troy Hill can cover Amari Cooper. So that issue or that whole thing with Troy Hill trying to guard Amari Cooper, the Cowboys needed to take advantage of that matchup a lot more than they did. He didn't stand a chance against Amari. And if you watch back the film and you just focus on Amari Cooper, he is toasting Troy Hill every time. He's getting open every time, and Dak is not even looking his way. The Rams DBs were playing so soft. And then when the ball is snapped, they are backpedaling, giving up 10 yards every time, yet Jason Garrett and Dak couldn't take advantage of that. That was another frustrating thing to watch, guys. The Rams were playing so soft in coverage, basically saying, we're not going to allow you to run, we're not going to allow you to throw deep. And the Cowboys proceeded to not try to do the intermediate things that the Rams were giving them. They tried to say, no, we're going to do what you don't think that we can, and we're going to run it down your throat. Turned out Ndamukong Suh turned into a monster, stopped the run, and then they just kept trying to throw it deep. Not taking the underneath stuff that the Rams were giving. It was bad. And I understand that the players like Jason Garrett. I understand that Jerry Jones likes Garrett because he's his little puppet. I'm a real boy. But the thing is, guys, if you're not able to make those adjustments in the NFL, if you're not able to see that's what's happening and take advantage of that, that's a problem. You probably are going to be fired from most organizations. You think Andy Reid or Belichick would see that the DB's playing 10 yards off and then backpedaling from the snap? You don't think Andy Reid or Belichick is going to take advantage of that? They're going to say, hey, Cordero Patterson, Julian Edelman, Gronk, run 10 yards down the field, turn around, and Brady will already have the ball halfway or three-quarters of the way to you. It's what you do. It's why Reid and Sean Payton as well, and McVay and Belichick are all great coaches because they take what you give them. If you're going to give them that, they're going to take it every time. And then if you can't stop what they're doing, they're going to keep doing it. Good luck. Try to stop it. Once you stop it, I got something else up my sleeve. So, oh, and on a good note, guys, I loved Prescott's reaction after he ran in the end zone. He didn't go crazy. He didn't jump up and down. He didn't pound his own chest. He acted like he'd been there before, and he acted like, yes, he was happy and excited to be in there, but they had more work to do, and let's get it done. That's the type of thing I love seeing from players come playoff time. I mean, that's the attitude that you have to have. So props to you on that, Dak. You can tell the loss hurt him, so I feel bad there. Next, we have the Pats versus the Chargers, guys. I can't believe I have as many notes as I do. The Chargers got boat raced. It was embarrassing. I felt bad. I'm not going to put this all on everybody around Phillip Rivers. I thought Phillip Rivers looked bad too. I have been saying for years that they never have an offensive line around him. He never has time. It seems like he's always throwing off his back foot. He's always throwing with the defender in his lap. And a lot of that happened in the game, but there were times that he had time and he just wasn't making the throws. He got overwhelmed pretty dang quickly. He got frustrated pretty dang quickly. And all that yelling and shouting at the refs and everything, just losing your composure like that in front of your team when you're supposed to be the veteran leader, I don't think that's always a good thing. Look, I know he's a young, fiery, competitive guy, but he was looking for excuses early. And I think that type of thing, it washes over the rest of the team like a big old weight on your shoulders. Like, yeah, well, this is unfair. Boo-hoo, and it's just... It's not a good energy to put on your team. And I thought he did a poor job of not only playing that game, but also leadership. So a little disappointed there. I know everybody was pulling for Phillip Rivers because we've seen Brady do it before. Phillip really needs this, blah, 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 blah. But, hey, maybe there's a reason he hasn't made it to the Super Bowl because he's got some talent around him. I know he doesn't maybe have the talent that the GOAT has, but Melvin Gordon's a beast. I talked about that like week 8. This podcast. Keenan Allen is an underrated and good receiver. I know they're missing Hunter Henry. I know outside of that, they maybe don't have the most skilled players, but Michael Williams is another good receiver. They do need a tight end. Antonio Gates is good, but he's lost 4 or 5 steps, and Hunter Henry is supposed to be really good, but he's injured, so we'll see about that. They could use a dynamic tight end to help them out there. But with that said, first play of the game by the Pats shows you exactly why they are the class of the NFL. Oh, the first drive of the game by the Pats shows you exactly why they are the class of the NFL. They go right down the field. They use about half the game clock of the quarter. They score. Sony Michel gets in there. Sony Michel scored the first 2 touchdowns, and I didn't see any single group planned out celebration. He's a rookie, and he's already learned the Patriot way. And that's what the Patriots do. That's how they maintain their greatness. Look, I saw head slaps, high fives, and handshakes. Triple H going on there. Head slaps, high fives, and handshakes. That's all that was going on every time the Pats scored. And that's a rookie doing that in Sony Michel. So that's why they're the class of the NFL. That's sustained greatness. They had Belichick, Brady. They lead the team. They show you how it's done. Act like you've been there before. Act like this is a playoff game, and it means more to the team in winning than scoring in individual achievements. The Chargers needed more from Ingram and Bosa. Again, what happened to, let's say, a couple games before to the Houston Texans is exactly what happened to Ingram and Bosa here. They were owned by that Patriots offensive line. Shout out Trent Brown, right tackle for the Pats. He used to be the right tackle for the Niners. Don't know why we gave him up. He looked great out there, throwing around Bosa and Ingram like they were garbage. They were nullified the whole first quarter, and that's why I don't believe a pass rusher should be a team's number one pick or focus. It's a sexy pick to go and find a guy that's getting a bunch of sacks in college or at the collegiate level, but it's really not transitioning or transferring to the NFL level anymore. When you all of a sudden have 3 or 4 first-round picks on that defensive line and you've got a good offense that could just completely nullify that, you're done. You need the skill players around your offense. You have to be able to put up points, and a lot of them. The Chargers got 7 DBs out there, and they still couldn't stop Edelman. I thought that said something for sure. 7 DBs running around. That's all the announcer and Troy Aikman, everybody keeps telling me. Well, none of those 7 DBs can guard Edelman. Really? All right, and then the Chiefs scored on their first 3 possessions. The Rams scored on their first 4 possessions. The Pats scored on their first 4 possessions. Offense wins the game. If I haven't driven that nail home yet, that's the last one in the coffin. Offense wins the game. No more defense. Even after all these games, in the Bay Area, the talk is still Niners need a defensive pass rush. They can get a defensive pass rush in the free agency. Yes, they need that. But when it comes to getting offensive skill players, you either have to draft them, or if you pick up Antonio Brown, something, get skill players first. Then you can focus on defense. Holy Moses. Feel like a broken record here. I felt like Rivers lost his composure early. Hats off once again to Bill Belichick. Awesome defensive scheme. He saw how the Ravens' defensive scheme really gave Phillip a hard time and made that Chargers offense struggle. So he just turned his defense into the Ravens' defense. You see, he gives you what, or he will take what you give him. If you show him a defense that wins or does well against your team, he will take that. He will implement it. He's not so stubborn that he tries to fit a round, peg into a square hole or whatnot. I think it's supposed to be a square peg into a round hole. Bottom line is he doesn't do that. He is able to make adjustments and give and take what you're going to give him. That fumble recovery was a bad call. He did not have control of the ball. Bottom line, did it even matter? However that call went, no, it didn't. And then last, guys, we got the Saints versus the Eagles. The Saints looked completely out of sorts early. They came into that game. They looked out of sorts right away, threw a pick. On top of that, they had some penalties. They looked bad early, and the Eagles put it on them. That was a defending championship team. Again, every time I watch the NFC playoff games, I think these are a couple teams that could legitimately win the Super Bowl. Then I watch the AFC side, and I think that team's really bad. That team's way better. That team's really bad. That team's way better. So it'll be exciting to watch the Chiefs at Pats. I think that the Saints have had, the NFC was a much harder road to toe. The Saints have only had to play 1 game yet, so, but now they got to play the Rams. And those are 2 teams I could easily see winning the Super Bowl. Anyways, I don't understand the focus to get the ball to Ted Ginn early. He's not good. I really don't. I don't know why that was a big deal. Get Ted Ginn the ball. I think it was because Sean Payton was understanding and knowing that the defense was going to know Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees. That's what makes that offense run or go. But that's fine. Good luck stopping them. That's what the Chiefs do, right? Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Mahomes. Good luck stopping them. That's so you don't have to try to get creative and throw in a wild card Ted Ginn Jr. No. Ted Ginn Jr. was done 3 or 4 years ago. He's not good. He'll catch one, long, crazy touchdown in the Super Bowl or something, and everybody will be like, oh, I thought you said he's bad. Look, he's a vertical threat. That's it. They were trying to throw him in corner routes, out routes, in routes. Stop throwing it to Ted Ginn Jr. He's not open. He can't beat the worst DB on the Rams. I get it. They were going at the worst DB on the Eagles. But he was shutting down Ted Ginn. So go to your guy. Finally, when the Saints went to Thomas and Kamara, that's when they started to make plays. That's when they started to win. If I'm playing the Eagles, I don't concern myself with their play action and their RPO offense, and that's the adjustment that I wrote these down in the first half. But that's the adjustment that the Saints ended up making for the second half. You know, Nick Foles, they run the run-pass option. Well, in order for the run-pass option to work, it has to delay your defense for a second, considering, oh man, that could be a run. The run looked good early for the Eagles, but ultimately the rush game or the running game for the Eagles is their worst aspect of their team, including their defense and every part of their team. Their rushing attack is the worst part. Go ahead and tell me who their best running back is. Don't worry, I'll wait. Darren Sproles, Wendell Smallwood, Josh Allen. They don't have a number one elite running back. They run this committee, and it's full of, undersized guys, washed up guys, injured guys, and Josh Adams or whatnot. So I wouldn't concern myself with the run RPOs. If they go a fake handoff and I'm playing Saints defense, I say, hey, focus on the pass. Don't even worry. Let them hand the ball off. We'll stop it. Our front four will stop it. Your linebackers, your DBs, do not fall for that. Stay on coverage. Stay on your man. We'll worry about the pass. I think the Saints did that in the second half, and that's when they started to take things over. The Eagles running backs did a hell of a job picking up the blitz. I will give them credit for that. The Saints kept trying to come at Foles. They kept trying to blitz him because he does get rid of the ball quickly. That's one of his best assets. He's able to read the defense before the snap. He's able to get rid of that ball quickly. That's how he's able to avoid so many sacks. They were coming at him, and they were going to get to him if the Eagles running backs did not step up and plug the hole and stop the blitz, pick up the blitz. And they did every single time. It was very impressive. So I will give the Eagles running backs credit for that. The Saints special teams was killing them with penalties. So if the Saints don't pick that up, a special teams blunder, consistent penalties can be the difference of a game in a playoff game, especially a championship game. So if the Saints don't improve that, that could be the difference in the reason why the Rams win if they do. I don't understand why Ingram got more carries and opportunity than Kamara. I don't get that. And you're never going to be able to explain that to me. Kamara's by far the better back than Ingram. Maybe you're trying to say that use Ingram early to soften him up, then throw in Kamara when they're gassed, and then he'll just rip off 10, 20 yards a carry. Fine. But for me, for my money, and especially if I'm a Saints fan, if we're going to lose the game, I want to see Kamara got 10 or 20 plus touches. Either he touched the ball 20 times, either through the air, in a combination of through the air and running, at least 20 plus times. If you go down in that game and you lose and you look back and you see Kamara had like 10 rushes for 60 yards, you're going to kill yourself, beat yourself up over it over and over and over. Down the stretch, the Saints played to not lose rather than to win. I thought that was another thing that I was a little hesitant about for them moving forward. They played not to lose. They got really conservative. They started playing the clock instead of playing their opponent. They should have continued to be aggressive. They could have gotten a couple first downs and ended that game. It turned out fine for them, but man, that was closer than it needed to be. That's what happens when you play not to lose instead of playing to win. And then finally, that ball went through Alshon's hands. That was a perfect spiral throw. Not only did it go right through his hands, it was a perfect spiral too. So it's not even something where you can be like, wow, it was kind of an uncatchable ball or whatever. I feel bad for Jeffrey. He definitely felt terrible, and you could see that. But man, that was such a beautiful throw. It was right there, and it was a spiral. It'd be hard to not be upset with him if you're an Eagles fan, but at the end of the day, they're not where they're at. They didn't even get this far. They didn't even have a close game without Alshon Jeffrey, so you can rest your hat on that, Alshon. Don't worry too much. BDN, Nick Foles needs to go somewhere else. I know he's considering retiring. He needs to go somewhere else. There are too many teams that are quarterback-starved. This is a quarterback-starved league. And you got a guy like Nick Foles making plays out there. The sideline reporter had said that when they were being held consistently by the Saints defense and they weren't scoring, but they were still only like a couple scores or a touchdown away, he picked up his helmet and he said, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Like, he wasn't even detoured. I think he has a great attitude. I think he throws a catchable ball. He's got nerves of steel. He'll just throw it up there and let you make a play. And if you give him a legitimate wide receiver and a good running game, I think BDN could do a lot of consistent good work in the NFL. So he needs to go somewhere else. Maybe somewhere like the Giants? I don't know. Somewhere where, maybe the Ravens. No, the Jaguars would be probably the best team. Anyways, we'll get to that next, guys. Until then, thank you for listening, you beautiful, beautiful listeners.